Yeah, so 10 minutes, going to talk about routing, our new solution for routing in Polymer with a sort of custom elements modular style. This is a sneak peek. This software is not yet released. We're hoping to release it incredibly very soon. I would give a date, but I know better. But very, very soon. And I'm going to be talking about the philosophy that we're going for with this, in addition to a couple demos. So these are strong opinions, but kind of weakly held. We've tested these out in a lot of scenarios, but we won't really know until we've released it and gotten a bunch of feedback from the community. So, modular routing. So custom elements in Polymer are sort of based around the idea that you have these self-contained, modular, reusable components that you build your app out of. But what does it mean to do routing from like a perspective of making very modular components? I can start by saying some of the things that you'll often see routing done in other environments that really aren't what I would call modular. I think that you shouldn't have a God object, a single global gigantic object that knows about everything that your app is going to do with routing, such that every time you add some more routing and URL specific behavior, you need to go not just update that view and that business logic, but also go update that gigantic router configuration. I think that that's not quite right. And maybe even more controversially, I think that routing should not be concerned with what's on screen. Okay, let me walk that back a little bit, because obviously, what's in your URL needs to be reflected on the screen. That's the whole point. Your app is there to provide a user interface for users to interact with. But your routing framework should not be like diving deep into the concerns of display, of animation, of loading data, of loading code to display that data. Routing is really about what state is in my URL, how is it changing, and how should the changes in my app state be reflected back into the URL so that the user can refresh at any point and still get the same view. So what if instead we had a proper separation of concerns? In Polymer, we have elements like iron pages or neon animated pages, which are very good at switching between views. Neon animated pages will do these beautiful animations. Iron Ajax will load data. And the router should interop very smoothly with that sort of element. It interrupts very smoothly with those elements in particular, but in general, it should interop very smoothly through the data binding system, but should not itself be aware of them. And it should let you build what I'd call routable components, which are pieces of your application which do routing within themselves, are assigned a set of URLs which they control the rest of. For example, a user page that is responsible for everything under /user/. And then there's a profile, and there's a picture, and then the logged in user can edit their profile, and all of that is routing, but it's not something that the main app knows about. The main app knows that the user page handles /user/, and that's all it needs to know. And when you have these very focused, very simple routing behaviors, you end up with a very simple routing app. There's no monolithic black box. There are just these small elements distributed throughout your app, which you can easily debug, and if you have if necessary, replace. If you have something idiosyncratic or something that needs a lot of customization. Okay, enough philosophy. Let's do some quick demos. So this is Carbon Route. It is really concerned about doing one thing. It takes a path, as though from a URL, and a pattern to match against it. And if I change this, we can see it live updating. So the pattern /store/home does not match the URL store garden. But the pattern / store does match. In addition, you can extract data from the URL, and it will be exposed through a data property. And this is all through code just like this. Now you will notice that here I'm editing this path as though it were a URL. Carbon route takes an input as a route object. We'll get to that in a second. A pattern, it exposes whether or not the route is currently active, and some data. Okay. So the second element, part of our routing elements, is carbon location, which bidirectionally binds to the URL. This is in an iframe, so I have a fake URL bar here. I promise this is real. I can open it in a new tab. If I'm feeling lucky. I am not feeling lucky. I promise it's real. Set up a little fake. And it exposes a route which you can pass into a carbon route object and do your routing, just as before with the page or the paper input. The final feature I'll talk about, and try to go through this quickly, is chaining routes, hierarchical routes, which is really where the power of carbon route sort of comes in. So suppose that you have 3 paths in your app, /store, /user, and then an ID, or /user, /profile. Now you can hook them up with a single carbon location that emits a route, and then you pass that one route into all 3 of those carbon routes, and they will all notice when the URL changes and bind bidirectionally to it. However, and so you can see when the URL is example.com/store, the /store route is active. However, there is this common prefix between /user, /ID, :ID, and /user, /profile. It would be nice to factor that out. So a carbon route can take a route as input and emit a route as a tail that you can then take in as the input to further routes downstream. So here, /user is consumed by this carbon route and emits a tail user route, which is the URL with everything that matched the pattern stripped off the front. And then we have our 2 carbon routes which consume that. Now, that's all well and good. It saves a little bit of typing and better organization, less repetition. But it also means that you can create a user page object, which is itself routable. So we have a carbon route which matches the pattern /user that emits its tail route, user route, which we pass into user page. And then inside user page, which is a routable element, we have our 2 carbon routes in there. The nice part about this is that the parent does not know what's going on inside user page. It knows, it says, I trust you to handle everything inside the URL space /user/, and everything else is up to you. So in this way, you have like user page can be reusable. You can mount it at several different URL prefixes, and the routing information is very naturally sort of spread throughout your app. So that's modular routing. Carbon route will be released very, very soon, I promise. And you can hit me up on Twitter or Slack at RICTIC. Thank you.